Hello everyone, welcome to 3B, Bincang-Bincang Bidan. First of all, my name is Luar Negeri, Bachelor of Applied Nursing students. Today, I'm gonna be the host for our podcast. And we are so blessed and lucky today because we have a special guest far away come from Charles Darwin University who had the top 100 university in Asia Pacific. And our guest today is really special because she is a mother, lecturer, leader, and a fighter of dreams. Who is she? Of course, our blessing, beautiful, and gorgeous guest today. Please introduce yourself.
Hello everyone, it's a pleasure and privilege to be sitting here joining your podcast today. My name is Mpho Dube. I am originally from Zimbabwe, now living in Australia. I am a nurse, a midwife, and now I'm a lecturer in the midwifery program. Thank you.
So it's really interesting, right? Because she is our first guest from abroad here. And I'm so excited and a bit nervous actually. But let's go straight to the questions. First of all, I really want to ask the question to you. It's been almost 2 weeks you in Bali. So how it feel to going back in Bali? Because I do believe this is not your first time to come in Bali.
Yes, this is my 4th time. Thank you for the question. The amazing thing is I always, I think when I come to Bali every time I leave, energized. You might be asking yourself, why am I feeling that? Because I feel like Bali is a peaceful place. And always working with you, you're always beautiful people, you're smiling people, you feel the love when you come to Bali. So yeah, thank you. I'm very blessed to have this opportunity again here today.
Now, you said before if you are come from the Zimbabwe, could you tell me how you encourage yourself from the Zimbabwe until Australia and being a lecturer in your university, in Charles Darwin University? I think it's really interesting to share your experience.
Yeah, this is not the first time I've been asked this question, and sometimes I'll answer it in kind of a different way. I usually say to people when they ask me why did I move from Zimbabwe to Australia, I usually say it's life. But really what I mean in that is sometimes depending on where you are and the situations that you come across, sometimes life makes you to live what you know and to find yourself in a different place. But the most important thing, I think, I was seeking for opportunities because I felt inside me that there was more inside, and I needed to find that place that would, resurrect my dreams, if I were to put it that way, really.
Mm-hmm. Well, I do believe it should be difficult for the first time. Did you ever thought for the first time you arrived in Australia, oh my God, what I'm doing here? I made a mistake to come here. There's a lot of people that I do not understand, especially the culture. So could you explain how you survived in Australia until you are being you are now?
Okay, that's it's an interesting question, but I'll try and answer it honestly. To say, did I ever think coming to Australia was a mistake at the beginning? Yes, I felt that way. And why did I feel that way? I think it's because I went into a new place and I had lost everything that I know. And the most important thing, coming in, I think I was already kind of advanced, I would say, in my, nursing at home, and then I had to start afresh. That was the first thing. The second thing really was around the cultural shock, right? I couldn't understand what the Australians were saying to me because of, the language.
Yeah.
When I was at home, I thought I spoke good English, and I thought there was only one English, only to realize that there's something called an accent. So I couldn't understand what they were saying. They couldn't understand what I was saying. The food was different. And then I did lose, the social networks that I had at home. Because, at home, we live with so many friends, with so many big families. So I had lost that, and I really did feel isolated. And yes, there were days when I felt like, if everything was okay back home, I'll be back in the next flight. But because, I wanted something, I had to really dig deep and stick with it. And here I am, feeling really comfortable in this space now.
Well, when you choose to go abroad to Australia, do you get any support or rejected from your society or your parents before you fly to Australia?
No, I wouldn't say that. Back home, it would be the opposite anyway, to be honest. Everyone's always thinking about, oh, if I had a sister back in, somewhere in a different country, like back home, I didn't get that rejection. I think everyone was kind of, oh, I wish I was in that position to go abroad.
Well, it's really nice to hear it, and I'm so happy for you. So, the other question is, you are lecturers. And I do believe after this podcast was published on YouTube, there is a lot of lecturers will also watch our podcast. Could you give the tips how to be a good lecturer to teach a lot of students? Because I do believe being a lecturer got a lot of responsibility, right? You should manage your emotional, and you should take care of a lot of things. I mean, not just lecturers, family, and being mothers. So could you tell us how you manage all of those things?
Okay. Yeah, that's an interesting question. But I think what I'll answer first is, how do you become a good lecturer? I hope I am, and I believe I am. I'm getting thumbs up there, and they're saying yes, you are doing a good job. But I always look at it from the point of students. We are all human beings, right? We are all humans, and to be a good lecturer, yes, there's the knowledge part of it, sharing that knowledge, but my role really is to facilitate the students to be able to know where to find the knowledge and to be able to do it with love. My life philosophy is treat every person with love, with dignity, with respect, with compassion, with kindness, and I feel like those things, even if I'm in the classroom, if I can do my job of empowering the next generation of midwives from that place, I feel like I'll always make sure that I'm everyone is feeling, all my students are feeling respected. I feel like that's what I would say, just going back to those principles. Am I treating someone with love, with kindness, with compassion? To me, that's the most important thing.
Well, it's really interesting, and actually, to be honest, it's really true, because when we first meet in Bumi Sehat, you show how the way you treat your student. I mean, you give your student, have the discussion and fulfill each other, and it's just so wonderful things. And I don't know, I'm just really speechless when I saw you being a lecturer, and at the middle of the circle of your students, when did the discussion, it's really, wow, amazing. I mean, you give out those opportunities to your students to, completing each other. So it's really impressive, and it's really good. I just really speechless, and I just really love it so much. Then you are, at the beginning, you said before, if you are nurse and midwives, how it could be, because it's really difficult to find in Indonesia. Because if you are nurse, just nurse, and if you are midwife, just midwife.
Okay. I was a nurse, because back home it's different. Like in Zimbabwe, I had to be a nurse, and then I had to be a midwife, and it's all around. It's like they made sure that there were midwives in a lot of remote areas. So back home, it's very easy for someone to do their nursing and then do their midwifery. So I haven't lost that. But when I'm talking to people, I usually say I am more of a midwife than a nurse, because I've done more work in the midwifery space, really, than in nursing. Not that I can't be a nurse, because again, it's a hard thing, hey. You have to be compassionate. It's still the same thing. So yeah, that's why I call myself a nurse and a midwife. And in Australia, it's possible too to become a nurse and also do a midwifery again.
Oh, I see. Yeah. And then I read some article that said in Australia we have a male midwives. Could you tell me a bit about it? Because I think it's not usual in Indonesia.
Yeah, because we do have male midwives, but I would say in Australia we don't have, the numbers aren't high, but we do have male midwives who make, really work well. Whereas where I come from, it's really common to have, like in Zimbabwe, there's so many male midwives as well. But again, to answer your question, I think it's all to do with the culture as well, because some things are around culture. Yeah.
And then I heard that a lot of the government and company from Australia come to Bali and Indonesia and the other country to looking for a nursing and midwife. What do you think about that?
Yeah, look, because sometimes there will be, we know there's a shortage of nurses and midwives worldwide, and sometimes, I know, like most of us Zimbabweans got there because of the agencies when they were looking for nurses, and it all came. But if the opportunity comes and you are up for it, why not give it a go, I would say.
I see. Then could you tell us a bit how it's nurse and midwife life in Australia?
Yeah, it is amazing, I would say. You know, especially now, speak from what I know back home to now, you know, working in Australia. Because what I learned in Australia, most importantly, was, you know, I would say, you know, the empowerment, or they try and make sure that the person or the woman or the patient is kind of in control. That philosophy, I think, to me was the most important thing. Because where I come from back home, sometimes I felt like, you know, the woman wasn't kind of respected in that space. So the woman-centered care philosophy for me is the most important thing, and that's one thing that I'm really, really interested in. Respectful care is one of those important things to me, and I feel like every person, woman, patient, whoever who comes under our care should feel respected, and we should be able to give that care that is really good to them.
Yeah, thank you. And Mpho, you already visited the public health center in Bali, Puskesmas, and Posyandu, and also clinic. Could you tell us the difference between the way we treat the patient in Bali and in Bali especially, and in your country? What is the difference and the similarity?
Okay, I would say, you know, like in my country working there, I've, you know, like I understand how the Pustus, the Poshyandus, the Puskesmases, all those levels work. But then I think I'll kind of take a little bit of a different direction now and speak from the Australian context. Like I've been talking to, you know, the students. We've had been so many discussions around, you know, the organization of care, and I feel like, you know, the community approach to health services, I think I would say it's a little bit, you know, stronger here than in Australia, I would say.
Then how about the medicine? Do you still use the herb medicine in your country or not? Because as we see in Bumi Sehat, we choose to use the herb medicine, right?
Yeah, look, like Australia being a multicultural space, I think every culture always use their own ways of using what they do. And also as we grow, we all make different choices. If that question is a personal question to me, I'm one of those people, you know, I do use some, but not that much. But I know that there will be other women who use those because it's their cultural space, because it's those choices that we make depending on what is really important to us. So some people will use them, some people will not. And I think we have to be open to respect people's decisions when it comes to the choices that they make.
And then I have more questions. So you are a lecturer and you come from Zimbabwe. Did you continue your master degree in Australia or in Zimbabwe?
Okay. So when I went to Australia, I could practice as a nurse, but I couldn't practice as a midwife. So I had to do my midwifery training again. And then after finishing my midwifery training, because I really love working with women, so I felt like I needed to go back to midwifery. If I had to do my training again, it was okay. So I did my training, and then I continued to do my master's after, you know, a couple of years of finishing midwifery.
Do you get scholarship?
Did I get scholarship? So when I was doing my midwifery, I did it through the hospital that I was working with as a nurse, and, you know, fortunate enough, I was given an opportunity, and they kind of paid for my midwifery training at that time. But for my master's, no, I didn't get a scholarship. I kind of paid. But, you know, in Australia, if you're an Australian citizen, you can get a, you know, a study loan kind of, and then you repay it back. So that's what I did.
Oh, it's really good.
Yeah.
It's really flexible for your country to give the opportunity to those people who doesn't have enough money and to repay it at the end after their graduate.
Yeah.
And do you have any information about how to get scholarship in Australia? Because I do believe there is a lot of Balinese and Indonesian people who want to apply their scholarship and continue their study in Australia, because the distance from Bali especially to Australia is really near, almost 20 hours until 6 hours, right?
Yeah, if I was to be honest with that question, I don't think I would give accurate information, but I always say, you know, look out on the websites and see, because most scholarships will be advertised, whether from the Indonesian side and also from the Australian side. I wouldn't give a really honest answer for that one.
And then, For now in Indonesia, almost 43,000 nursing graduate every year, but not all of them get the job. And do you know, could you give us some advice how to handle all of those things and like where we should go? How if we go abroad and how can we go abroad with our skills? Do you think it's good or not?
Yeah, that's a difficult question. I think I would say because then every country will have its own ways of doing things. But then I think I can't speak into is it right or is it wrong because it's But then if the opportunity to go abroad comes, you always look at the list of what are the requirements. If you fit that criteria to go and the application process is open, I would say ask yourself, do you really, really, really want to go? And if you really, really it's your dream to go, why not fight for your dream?
Yeah, because in Bali, usually we want to go abroad to change our family lives, but being better life. But sometimes our parents will not give us an opportunity to do that because in Bali, sometimes we believe we should born, wedding, and maybe have a children and die in Bali. So it's a bit difficult. So, do you have any advice to the young generation in Bali, especially how to being brave, to going abroad and make opportunity and get new experience abroad without make their parents mad or something? Because as we know, we need some lead to go abroad, and so if we could go abroad, we could change our family life.
Yeah, and again, I would say another difficult question because when it comes to cultural things, we all know that culture is so strong. To be able to go abroad, you should be knowing your culture, you should be prepared of the consequences that come with breaking your culture, I would say. Because then, if you leave and then you will have those issues, especially if you're the first people who leave, the country will have those issues until, people realize that actually it's a good thing. So there will always be those, the first people, the first trailblazers, the ones who go ahead should be prepared for a fight, I would say.
Do you have any kind of advice what we should prepare, like what you did before?
Oh, you mean preparing to... Going abroad, yeah, it's always looking at what are the requirements that are needed. That's one part. But after my experience, I think the other thing that you should be prepared for is the culture shock. Because moving from one place, from a different culture to another culture, does really is difficult. So it's how then do you prepare yourself. But I always say to everyone that I talk to, if you have a vision, don't forget your vision. Hold on to your vision so that when things get difficult, you can go back to that space and hold on to your vision. That always helps you to fight all the other things that come around it.
Oh my God, it's really inspiring me so much. Thank you so much. And at the end of our podcast today, I would like to ask you to give advice to the young generations in Bali especially about how we could survive and how we could be a person like you, because you give us a lot of inspirations in here.
Oh, thank you for your kind words, I would say. And if I can inspire one person, that's important to me because I feel like we have to be an inspiration to each other every day as we live our life. But if I was to give, some little wisdom, I would say, not kind of advice, I'd kind of run away from that word, but it's just sharing wisdom. I would say, ask yourself, what is it that you really, really, really want in life? And then after doing that, start looking around, how can I reach that dream? And I always say to people, if you have a dream and you have a really, really strong dream, please don't let anyone take it away from you. Because then there will be voices sometimes when you have this beautiful dream and you start talking to people and you're like, there will be some people be like, no, that will never happen. No, you won't do this because of that. But if the dream is yours, hang on to it and find those people who are going to support you through the dream, I would say.
It's so great closing. Yeah. So thank you so much for coming here. Really, I'm so blessed you are here because you already give me a lot of inspiration and I'm one of your fans now. So That's all about our podcast with our special guest, Mpho from Charles Darwin University as lecturers, mothers, leader, and students. It's really amazing for our today. Amazing podcast for today because, it's really difficult to find someone like her, and we close this podcast with see you for the others podcast. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.